Hey, and welcome. So in this video, I'm actually going to continue on my discussion of how to utilize Ollama. And today, I'm actually going to show you how you can create an interface like you see here using no code. So this is actually almost all out of the box and just a little bit of configuration. And what this will allow you to do is, and if you look at it, it looks very similar to what you might find on a ChatGPT, but this would be using Ollama instead of OpenAI. And I'm going to show you how to set this up. And it's really easy to do and take no more than 5 minutes. The only thing you'll need to have is you'll need to have Ollama installed and you'll need to have Docker. And I'll provide instructions on how to install Docker. So if this is something you're interested in learning how to do and set up quickly, stick around. As I mentioned, in order to do this, you actually need two things. You need to have Ollama installed, and I'll post a link here to my instructions on how to install Ollama if you've never done that before. And the next thing you also have to have is Docker. So if you're not familiar with Docker, there's a website. Their website, I'll post a link to Docker itself, so you'll allow you to install this. This is essentially containerization, and the UI that we're going to be using, the user interface, is going to be containerized, which is really nice because we don't really have to install anything other than Docker, which will allow us to run it, and Ollama, which will allow us to access the models. So to confirm everything's running, you can check. I have Docker Desktop running. I'm running on Mac OS, and I have the Docker Desktop widget here that allows me to see that everything is installed correctly. You can also get to it directly from within a command prompt. Obviously, if we type Ollama, we can get the version of that, and that tells us that Ollama is installed. And if you do Docker PS, you get something back, and it doesn't give you an error message. I don't have any containers right now. It's a pretty fresh machine at this point. If you get these commands working as such, or if you do Docker dash version and you get version information for both of those, then you have everything you need to set this up. So to get set up with this, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the Ollama webpage, and you're going to go to GitHub, and you're going to scroll down here, and there's a bunch of beyond the models and setup. Towards the bottom, they have a lot of community integrations, and the one we're looking for is WebUI. So if you click on that link, it'll take you to that GitHub page for WebUI, and it has how to get started, and there's many different ways to get it going. The simplest way, and the way we're going to do here, is we're going to use Docker to do this. So once you have Docker installed and once you have Ollama installed, the only other thing you have to do is run this command here. So this is going to run the Docker command, and it's going to install it locally and set it up so it runs on your local machine. And it's going to be using by default port 3000. So we're going to do this in a browser. So that's going to be the port number. And if you know anything about how Docker works, obviously you can change these port numbers to be anything that you need them to be. We're just going to stick with the defaults to keep it simple. And we're going to go ahead and copy that to the clipboard. And we're going to go back over to our prompt here, and we're going to go ahead and paste that in and run this. Now, the first time you run this, if you don't have the container downloaded, it will install it. It'll actually pull it down. Now, I happen to have the container already running, and just to kind of show you what that looks like, let me go ahead and make this a little bigger. And if I do Docker images, you'll see that I have that container image already here. So that's why I didn't have to download it. But the first time you run this, if you don't have it, it's going to take a little bit longer because it's actually going to download this container to your local repository and set it up, and then it's actually going to start it. It's going to start it in the background, and that's what the purpose of the -D is. It runs it as its own service, and it's currently listening on port 3000. So now that it's running, if you go over to a browser and you type in localhost 3000, that will give you a screen looks like this. So if you have this far, if everything's working, then you have just about everything you need to continue on. If you have any error messages at this point, you might want to go back and look at those. You can use the Docker logs to get that details. But assuming everything is working correctly, this is the first screen you're going to see. Now, everything is local. Okay, so you're going to get a sign-on page here, and it's going to store all of your credentials in a local volume on your machine. That's the beauty of it. So nothing's leaving your site or your laptop. Okay, everything's localized at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and sign up, and it doesn't matter what you put here. I'll put my email address in here, some password, go ahead and create an account, and I'm in. And then now that I'm logged in here, I have access, and it looks very similar to a ChatGPT. So here's where I can put my commands in just like you'd expect. I can get access to my existing prompts. I can do files and documents. I can upload documents. I can do RAG retrieval through here. But there are a few differences from what you're used to seeing. Number one is you're going to see the selection here for a model. And you remember, if you went through the video where I showed you how to configure Ollama, you can have many different models available. And whatever models you've downloaded, you can see them and select them from here. So this list here is going to be equivalent to Ollama list if you did that through a command prompt. So I have 4 models that I have locally, and I can choose from any of these 4. So I'm going to pick the Ollama latest, and I'm going to ask it to give me a short code snippet for doing CSS and JavaScript. Now at this point, it's going to load up that Ollama model locally, and it's going to make the request and give me back the details for that request. And doesn't look half bad. It looks pretty close to what you might see through something like ChatGPT. It's got a lot of different options. I can copy to the clipboard, and as you can expect, there's quite a bit of functionality baked into this. So if you want to, you can actually get to some of the details. So if you go down here to settings, you can actually change information about, now some of this you don't really care too much about, what it's using internally to connect to the host, but the models, you can actually select models, you can actually get new ones. So I can pull a new model. So if I wanted to pull Mistral 7B, I can do that right here. I can delete models that are on my workstation. I can do some other things. I can select a model to be deleted, obviously. Interface screens here, different things I can do there. I can do audio, I can do images this way. I can do some account settings. So there's quite a bit in here that they have baked in. But the more important ones are actually under, let's go under admin panel here, and you'll see some additional information. So if you click on admin settings, you'll see that there are users here that I can do user administration. Local, again, all this is local. I can download the database. Everything is stored in a local database. But more importantly is I can come in here and I can actually go in. So it took me a bit to find it, but what I was looking for was underneath here is I can actually put in my OpenAI key. So if you have an OpenAI key, meaning you have signed up for access to OpenAI's API, then you can access all of the OpenAI models, including the ChatGPT ones. So what you're going to do for that, if you haven't already set that up, is go into OpenAI, and you're going to go to the API keys. Again, you have to sign up for all this. I'll paste a link in there for OpenAI so if you're interested, if you haven't signed up for this yet. You're going to create a new access key, and I'm going to go ahead and create that access key. I'm going to copy that to the clipboard, and again, I'm going to revoke this once I paste this. Once I create this video, I'm going to go ahead and paste that in, and click Save. And now if I go back to my chats, you'll see that if I drop this model down, I not only have access to my local models, but I have access to many of the GPT models. So you have really the flexibility to either use models that you want to save everything locally, or you can pay. Again, you can pay for requests through ChatGPT, and you have access to that as well. So you have the best of both worlds, but completely customizable. You can definitely put in a lot of different customizations in here to really make this look and feel just like the ChatGPT version without having to necessarily pay for it unless you want to. So you have the option to stay local or pay for use. If what you're getting locally for free doesn't work correctly, go ahead and try it with the GPT models, and you have the best of both worlds. So I hope you found this useful, and please, if so, please like and subscribe.